to have you on with me, doing my dailies. Argo season ready to go. Yeah, so what happened today? Today was a lovely day. We were sick still. We had to cancel a bunch of stuff, but thankful in this regard that I had a kind of a monumental moment happen, at least for me. And tonight we'll talk a little bit about milestones for kids. But I feel like it was maybe it's not a milestone in the sense of like a scientific milestone or a pediatrician will tell you this is a milestone, but it was a milestone in, I think, just kind of social development, family development. So we give our daughter limited TV time. We do that with both of our daughters. We want to try to keep it, a limit. And I'm not afraid of TV. I think that a lot of the times, yes, there are many studies that kids who are watching TV, there's neurological problems that can happen, and there's a lot of people who go down that road and don't give their kids any screen time. Hey, all the power to you. I think that's a great way to live, and if you can go without it, fantastic. But I'm a YouTube guy. I'm a film head. I always loved watching shows growing up in TV. And I know for little ones, like under, 1.5, 2, we don't really touch screen time at all. And if we do, and if we did in the past, and if we do in the future, it's always very slow paced. Even on regular YouTube, I'll slow it down to like 0.5 or 0.75 if we need to do it for like a change of a diaper or something. But anyway, I say all that to say that, we're very stringent about how we watch TV and the TV shows that we watch. And we've leaned on actually a lot of the shows we grew up with, whether it was like Franklin the Turtle, or it's a show like The Big Comfy Couch, things like that. I don't know if y'all can relate to that or not, but since our kids are under 4, we want to make sure that it's nice and slow. The pattern is easygoing. Anyway, so one of those shows that I watched when I was growing up was Little Bear. And I just think it's the cutest show out there. Little Bear is just too much fun. It's just so innocent, so fun. And Duck actually reminds me of Luann from King of the Hill. I don't know if anyone watches both of those shows, but Duck has just this ridiculous, I don't know, just the way she communicates is innocent, hilarious all at the same time. So my daughter usually watches TV when my youngest goes down for a nap. And usually I just put it on for her. And, this time she was on the couch, she's sitting in the recliner. So I took I took the time to like lay down and take a quick little nap just before I got back into my video stuff and get work done for the day. Anyway, funny enough, when I got up after like 10 minutes or so, I was about to leave and she said, "Dad, could you stay with me? Could you watch the show with me?" And it was touching because I remember growing up wanting my parents to watch TV with me. And in past, like, we would kind of ask her if she wanted us to stay. But this was like purely genuine. It was of her own heart. And yeah, it tore me up inside. It was quite lovely, actually. I just kind of I felt like I hit a milestone with my daughter that, not that I want to be her best friend or her friend in general, like as a parent, especially when they're really young, you need to be the person who's guiding them in life, setting up those boundaries, even, if there's discipline, things of that nature that has to get done. But this was one of those moments where she invited me into her world. She wanted me to sit there and watch the show with her. And it just seemed different this time. It was a very cognitive invite. And I was so humbled. It was teary-eyed. I was teary-eyed for sure that, she wanted to spend time with me because she's cool. She's a person who I want to spend time with. And when I'm older and when she's older, I hope she wants to kick it with her dad once in a while. But, if that never happens and she doesn't want to, that's totally fine because I'm her dad first, So at the end of the day, it was just a wonderful moment that we had. And trying to share moments as time goes on, being a dad, now of 3. And just trying to stay healthy. I'm in my 40s now, trying to keep that weight off. I lost over 120 pounds. Just trying to be the best man that I can, lead my family, love them, help them the best way possible. So another thing that happened was just seeing my middle child, just grow and just become her own person. To any of you parents out there, or future wannabe parents, or people who have close little ones around you, when you see a development, a milestone hit, it really just it you think you're prepared, but it takes you by surprise every time, like every single time. So our middle, she's been just talking more and just enjoying life more. And I just said, if you were watching the stream a couple days ago, that she has a real struggle with eating. And so when she pukes, whenever she pukes, it kills us inside. She has a quick gag reflex, and it just kills us because it's all this nutrients that she just doesn't usually take in. And we call her little French girl because, because she just likes to eat a certain amount. She's, classy with it. She eats it in a certain way. She's very polite. Anyway, just love her to bits for who she is and what she's all about. So anyway, today she just was sitting down. We were having some pizza, and this little girl went to town on this pizza more than I ever seen in my entire life. Like, of her at least, I should say. And she ate more than her big sister. She ate as much as mom. She almost ate more than me. And she's little, but she just pounded it back. And again, as a parent, you never see such joy than when one of your children who hasn't done something is starting to do it. And for her, just having that pizza, just sitting there and just enjoying. She loves pizza normally, but she was going to town. She was laughing. She was making conversations. Her observations just were out of this world. I loved every second of just spending time watching her be her. And so that was, an interesting milestone for her too, to like kind of have this like cognitive dinner with us. It was just very, very precious to watch. And, it kind of got me thinking about the different milestones that children go through. You've got, when when they're little, they just come out of the womb, and, they're just checking for, a pulse. They're checking for normality. They're checking for skin defects. The mother usually does skin to skin right away, because you got to make sure that that baby is getting all of the vital connectors from basically out of the womb into the real world. And it's shocking how many of those have been missed over the decades, and how science has shifted. It just is always even astonished me how like nurseries were a big thing back in the day. Like you would take the child away from the mom for X amount of time. I don't know what the science was behind it. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Anyway, so you got that, and then, I had no idea. I guess I was told, but I had really no idea that, the first 10 or 15 diapers from the baby, if not more, was like this black, dark soot. It's tar. It's a tar poo. And so, you got that milestone you got to deal with. And then you got the milestones of, their first wake window, the sleeping patterns they go through. Parents think the first 3 months a lot of time is a cakewalk. Well, it's because the child really likes to sleep, or it takes a few weeks maybe to get the rhythm going because they were a night baby. Like the baby we got coming in now, supposedly, from what Chris has been telling my wife, he is a dude who just is up all night. And maybe it's because he can't get a word wise in during the day, but he's up all night. So we have to take him from Australian time over to Canadian time here. And, that could take a little bit of time. But with our two other ones, it was, they went to sleep pretty easily within about, for about the first 3 months, it was easy sleeping. And then after that, it was just an all-out war. And, we didn't go into the realm of sleep training. And everyone's different. Everyone's got a different pattern and belief system on that. I'm not here to tell people what to do, but we've been finding that our kids are sleeping a lot better now. Who knows if things change again. But it's one of those things that we kind of live by, the idea that most of humanity, most of human history, people have been sleeping all together in the same room. They've been in the same place all the time, dwelling, there was cabins in different native communities and just communities in general where they would have, it would seem like beds for 80 people living in the same area. And that could also breed terrible, terrible things as well with abuse and stuff like that. But for the most part, like if you look at human history or even look now, kids aren't all separated off in their own rooms, especially at a young age. But again, that's not for me to decide or for me to tell you how to live your life. But anyway, so you got your sleep windows, you got these, milestones of eating, you've got these milestones of, when they take their first steps, when they, when they'll talk, when they'll say their first words, and all these milestones are nice and all, but all the children are different, and you've got a huge rise in different mental health issues. You've got a rise in the different forms of, or different, I should say, the different disparities in nutrition. There's just so many differences in the milestones that parents, when they compare, it makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest with you. I really actually get really sad when mothers in particular are, sitting around in a baby's group or in a toddler's group, and they're just comparing their kids, and they don't realize that there's so many reasons why their children are different. There's so many reasons and factors. It's not just like, you read a science journal and if y'all haven't taken a chance to look at my other videos, I just interviewed Dr. Aaron Prasad on peer-reviewed papers. And granted, you have to do a lot of peer reviewing and a lot of different papers for it to, for something to come to light. If there is a problem with it, that you need to, obviously it'll come to light if you deal with it enough times. But with those pure scientific reviews, you see that there are sometimes very few people who are getting a chance to look at the editor, and very few people who are getting a chance to actually see the paper and go through the paper fully. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes those papers can slip through the cracks, or you can have people who just don't want your theory to kind of get pushed through. So I'm always shocked at how much we put into stock into which milestones are which, and even those growth charts for little kids. How many children, I would love to see actually the growth charts of a lot of the players in the NFL or in the NBA or who've made it into sports, who at some point or another when they were a little kid were supposedly too little. Like, I weighed less than my sister growing up. I'm 6'3". I was at over 300 pounds. So, I didn't suffer that way. And I've seen babies, especially in certain communities, these kids are like, in the 90th to 100th percentile of weight and height or whatever, and they end up being some of the smallest people groups in the world. So I think a lot of the times these milestones are kind of off, and you have to kind of gauge your own child. And for us, as we have 3, we have a bit of a meter stick, and we have friends who have 5 and 6 kids and 4 kids. So we're able to have a bit of a barometer in that sense of just not just getting the statistics that's on a chart, but actually getting the real life nuanced statistics. So, what time do the children actually go to bed? Because that's not usually in the study. What do they eat? That's not in the study. How do they interact socially? That's not in the study. How do they, what are the parents like? That's not usually in the study. What are the patterns, the week to week, the extended family, the extended friends? Are they going outside? Are they getting lots of vitamin D? Are they running around? What's their energy levels like? There's so many nuances to these milestones that I think as parents, or just as people in general, we have to just pump the brakes sometimes. Because sometimes people are just, they put way too much emphasis into this stuff. And again, it causes this tension between parents, and that is like disunity in its finest. And especially when it happens in a church setting, that always hurts my heart when you have these people who are, sitting around comparing, like, my kid, or this is the way I do stuff, and they're not being inclusive. And I don't mean inclusive in a woke, wonderful, everything's fine, kumbaya way. I mean just in the simplest of ways. Like, just don't bully people. Don't, tell people that, your way is the best way out there. So anyway, that was just some thoughts that came to mind, and I just I've worked with kids for about 10 years. I've worked with families and parents. I've counseled a lot of people over the years, a lot of men in particular, and a lot of the times these children, these people that were above grade or below grade, everyone kind of levels off in time, especially if the X factors are uh, are what's it called? I would say when those X factors are leveled off, and when you're able to see there's a reason for why little Sally or little Timmy or little Kevin act a certain way and do things a certain way, that's not just in, well, because they ate avocados 6 times a week, we can derive that they had a better set of sleep. Some statistics are absolutely amazing. They've done 40-year studies. They've done comparisons between identical twins. And even then, I would take those to a degree sometimes with a grain of salt, because, comparison starts at a young age too, even within the home. If you have one twin that may be a little bit brighter than the other, and you have parents that are always comparing, you're that close to an eating disorder, that close to body dysphoria, that close to bullying, that close to just people feeling suicidal, because we take in only certain metrics, and there's a ton of metrics I don't think that we even realize or understand yet. So yeah, with just my eldest and my youngest, and just being invited to the party in that way, and just seeing another one of my daughters, just eat and enjoy. It's it's been a unique milestone day for me. Oh, sorry, I hit my mic. It's been a unique milestone day for me. So yeah, I was wondering what kind of milestones that have really interested you or you've seen in your children, whether they were actually documented on a chart, or whether they were like socioeconomical or religious or whatever they might be. If you want to put that in the comment section, that'd be fantastic. I haven't missed a comment in 17 years. Granted, I've only had a couple thousand comments over the years, but I have never missed one, and I don't intend to yet. And yeah, just parents, if you're out there and you feel like you're in a place where as a parent, you've got to, do something different, or, get your kid up to par. Most of the time, you just got to spend time with them. Most of the time, you just got to, rewire their way of thinking. And, most of humanity, if you ask people what really stinks about their life, unless they're really shelled off, they're going to want to share. And I found that working with teenagers, working with youth, kids, when you talk about, and my own kids, when you ask them, what was the thing you didn't like, or what was the thing that really ticked you off? Everyone's got something that's bugging them at any given time. And, when you are able to get past that initial level and in conversation, kids are ready to open up. They just need that crack in the door, and it's not usually going to be about the good things. And because let's face it, most adults can't scratch 4 good things together in a paragraph. So when you talk to kids and all the stresses they're going through, all the hurts they have, all the nuances, the learning, when you start getting into that side of things, you can let that crack open the door, and then you can move to the good things, and you can compliment, and you can help them learn. And maybe psychologically I'm not doing the right thing, but it's been a great way for me to have some really deep conversations with the children and youth, young adults and adults even, that I've been able to be in contact with. So don't measure yourself up too heavily, and I think you'll do great. Now, other things that come to mind in the day was, there's a lot of obnoxious people in the world right now. We had our 2 daughters walking through the mall. They really wanted to carry their strollers. So they had their strollers, and they're just pushing them through the mall. And I'm in front, and my wife's in behind. She's pregnant. And, we're just walking in a long line, and people are either just like really loving or really scowling, really miserable. And I could I could see a lot of the boy moms. There was like a longing um, for that kind of like walking with the strollers, that babyhood. I could see some of the guys who are maybe fathers of sons. They were kind of like, oh, look at that poor sap or whatever. And On the flip side, I could see some of those, girl dads who are just like, wow, that's a good idea. And the moms of girls, they thought found it very enduring and very lovely. And so, there was just that polarizing, we're just in the mall walking, the kiddos have their strollers, and people just are, they're so tense, or there's such a, like, people come up and smile and say hello to you and everything's, wonderful. And on the flip side, other people are like, nah, this is weird, this is, odd, or, what a, terrible thing for you to perpetuate your children having to have kids right away. I'm like, the girls chose. They really, really wanted to take their strollers, right? So that was interesting. But we also had some people who were just scowled, who just, I think, hated the idea of us walking through the mall with our kids and just enjoying the day. And there was actually, it was funny, it was the people who had like their dog strollers, who were really scowling at us, or I think the people who they may not to be with someone, maybe who have been hurt in the past and who have some, trauma that they haven't been able to deal with properly. I don't know. I'm definitely just, I guess, reverse judging, because they're judging us for, going through the mall with the multiple strollers we have. But it is funny to see how polarizing kids and family are in our society, especially since I live in a metropolis. And there's a lot of people who even look down on families. And there's this kind of almost nasty feeling towards having kids, or a lot of kids. And granted, at some point, I would say when you have too many kids, you don't really have the opportunity to really raise them and connect with them, especially in a fast paced world. If you were on a farm or something like that, it might feel or, look a little different. But yeah, it always drives us a little nuts how people just, don't want anything, don't have anything or want anything to do with a family with kids. And we're just trying our best, just trying to keep ourselves, out of the spotlight, just doing our thing. But people can really scowl and just be nasty, especially again in the downtown area. Now, there's this other incident that happened where there's this elderly lady, and she was standing near the elevator, and people just kept walking in front of her, and she wasn't going to get on the elevator. And, again, we've got two kiddos. My wife is super pregnant and pushing already a cart. We've got the little girls with their strollers. And there's this, like, workout lady, and she has this big old mat, and she whacks the poor lady. She's on her phone. She just thinks she's the hottest poop in the world. And I was about to confront her, and my wife kind of just looked at me, and I backed off, because I'm like, I really got to stop trying to defend people 24/7. And one thing that I was reminded of was, instead of me fighting for this lady, how about I interact with the lady, the older lady who got bumped into and who's being, uh, just taken advantage of. So I ended up just talking to her for a little bit, saying what's up, and just, offering her to go in front of us. And again, she must be in her 80s or 90s. She endearingly looked at our family. She's like, no, you go on ahead. And just to hear on the elevator, this young lady who had taken her bag and whacked it into this old lady, her life in that brief 30-second conversation was awful, just dreadful. So, there's something to be said about where your heart is and where the society is around you. And I think we really have to, yeah, just take a step back and really just look for people, the vulnerable, the hurt, the broken. There's a lot of people out there who will actually see your family as disarming. So if you are a family person out there, and you're getting a lot of scowls, or people aren't happy about you having kids, of course, be respectful to the best of your abilities. But I heard a quote a little while ago, and I'm trying to really process it. It's, people can choose to live in a child-free environment or in their own, setting or situation, but they can't live in a child-free world. You just have to, deal with it, right? And deal with it appropriately. I always teach my kids, like, when we're out in public, be respectful, be kind. If there's a safe stranger and they've interacted with us, please say hello. Please enter into society. Be a kind person. But there are going to be many, 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 many people who are just nasty or who are having a really bad day, and you can't govern that in a moment, in a second. So I'd rather our kids be a little bit more shy than them be over rambunctious and just being saying hello to everybody. Because I'm biased clearly, but we got two unique, beautiful little girls, and last thing we need to have them be engaged by predators, because I don't know if some of you have heard my story, but I was almost abducted when I was 9 years old. There was a man, thankfully, my dad is like blonde hair, blue eyes, like Owen Wilson looking, and I was just, pudgy little brown kid. So I don't think he knew he was my father. And this guy was like trying to buy me cocoa bars and candy and was trying to connect with me and saying, "Oh, come with me." And my dad like gave it to him. Like he's like, "Don't touch my kid. Don't talk to my kid." My dad was off doing something else. My dad has mental health issues as well. And I was molested by my uncle when I was a little kid. So vulnerability and then working with children for a long time has always been on the forefront of my heart, and helping men and women, predominantly men, life coach them, walk them through life is to protect their family, protect themselves, build up boundaries, be open to connecting with the world, be open to sharing God's love with them, but knowing that the world is a pretty nasty, evil place, and there's a lot of hurt and broken people out there. As they say, hurt people, 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 hurt people. And it's just, you're hurt, you get hurt, you don't get healing, you go out and hurt again. So it's just setting up those really good boundaries and just dealing with it in the day. Now it brings me to, I guess confession time, which is, just being at home a fair bit more lately and just being sick. I wanted to actually record this video earlier because the great thing about doing these videos is I'm doing the dishes, right? Which is super cool that I'm actually getting an opportunity to make videos while doing the dishes. And then I do my stretches, 3 or 4 times a week between the hours of 9 and 10 in the morning. And then I do a couple workouts. It just keeps me super accountable and keeps you, the viewer, entertained from all the people that have been connecting with me tonight. Anyone who's watching, thank you. If you like, share, subscribe, that'll be amazing. Super great. Been making videos for 17 years now. And it was just kind of an epiphany moment. I was like, oh, I'm doing the dishes anyways. Time is of the essence. Everything is getting crammed in my life. Might as well make content while I'm doing the dishes. And I'm such a tactile person that being able to do a task while being able to communicate is like the creme de la creme. I probably would have gone into psychology and counseling if I had an opportunity to play like ping pong with someone and counsel them through something, or go for long walks. And maybe that's something I'll do in the future. But doing these dishes and talking to people is wonderful. Anyway, so I was a bit stressed today, and finally blew a bit of a gasket, and I didn't like take it out on my wife and my kids or anything like that, but I was just frustrated, and I just was frustrated that my youngest one was under the weather and she was crying a lot, and so I just needed to cool off. And I just kept reminding myself as I was doing the dishes earlier that I didn't need to make that video then. I'm making it now. I'm literally making it now, talking about the way the psychology of my brain had to go through the dependence on God. And I just had that still small voice just remind me that things are not formed yet. And the first 25 minutes of this stream is based off of me not experiencing what I needed to experience to make said video. So we have to be very patient with ourselves, patient with our spouses. The way our children will see marriage and love in the future is the way that we love our spouses, the way that we connect with them, the way that we are patient and kind. The way that they will see the world is through how we interact with them, but mainly how we interact with, the closest people in our lives. They're watching every step of the way. I cannot emphasize this enough. The way that my children mimic us, crazy, like crazy. The catchphrases, the body language, the jokes, the nuances, the looks. It's just, it's actually quite thrilling to watch them grow. And as they grow, love and connect with each other, you are literally a living example, and you are teaching them. They say the first 3 years of life in the womb, and 2 years and 6, 7, 8, 9 months, depending on how long the baby is in the womb for. that is more important than the next 10 to 15 years of their life. And that's because things that are forming in them is safety, is rhythm, their circadian rhythm, is the way that the skin to skin, the way they interact with the world, the way they hear voices, the way they hear tones, the mimicking, their facial expressions. There's so much psychology and science that goes into these first 3 years. And granted, of course, the next 10 to 15 are hugely formative. You're going to deal with a lot of your morality. You're going to deal with your puberty. You're going to deal with your sexuality. Those types of things are going to start to perk up, and obviously into probably your your teens to your mid 20s, when your brain finally stops forming. Those are obviously the ending of the formative years. Then I've heard a lot of child psychologists say you have until about 25. So if your kiddos are doing crazy stuff even when they're in their teenage years, don't give up. Especially if any of y'all Christian parents, don't give up. There was a reason why in the wilderness, I think God told Moses that no one under 20 years old would be accountable for the sins of the parents and what they were doing. And that gives me a lot of hope, because there's a lot of teenagers, there's a lot of youth and even people just getting into their 20s who are making really big mistakes. And I think God has a lot of patience with us, and we have to have patience with people. Now, granted, I don't want to go down that whole juvie thing and all that stuff. If you do a crime, I think you should do the time, and there's a bunch of stuff we'll probably talk about in the future. But when it comes to the day-to-day, the mistakes, the growth, we got to look at ourselves first. And there's at times amazing parents and their children just don't want to listen. But a lot of the time, the nuances, the way we look at things, the way we deal with things, the way we've set them up in the foundation for how they're going to live and grow is a lot of it's on us, and the time that we spend. I see way too many parents that are sacrificing their kids, and again, sorry, let me say this. Let me always say it. Backtrack. Let me backtrack. There are many circumstances that I don't understand. There are parents, single parents, or people who are in abusive relationships. I'm not talking about you whatsoever. I'm talking about the people who have a decent relationship, everything's going well, and they need the extra house. They need the cottage. They need the extra car. They both need to be working extra. Both need that bonus. They need to get their kids into gymnastics and all stuff. You don't need a lot of that stuff. You need to spend your time with them. The time will slip away, and it's heard a million times over, but it is so crucial to their development, to who they are as people. I cannot tell you this enough. If you have an opportunity to scale back some hours, and even if it's annoying, take your teenagers out somewhere and let them just breathe for a while. They may hate your guts at first, but I promise you, even though my parents had mental health issues, even though I've struggled a lot, I've gone through a lot of abuse, lived in tough neighborhoods, had all this tough stuff happen to me, when my parents tried to spend time with me, and when they took us, packed us in a van, drove us across the country, even though I was dealing with a father who had obsessive compulsive disorder, and we'd sit in a parking lot for an hour, 2 hours sometimes as he goes through his systems. And you just feel like your brain is going to explode, and you have zero patience as a teenager. I still remember standing in front of the mountains in Alberta, and I still remember seeing the sandy hills in PEI. I still remember how they tried and how they did some good things as well. And kids, we're always going to romanticize the good and the bad, right? We're going to romanticize the good and really hold on to and really latch into the negative. Anyway, I say all that to say, future parents, parents right now, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever, just spend your time with the kiddos. Just ask them how they're doing. Again, my suggestion is ask negatively what's really ticking you off, which political leader, whatever is ticking you off, and I guarantee you, that's going to open a bit of a gateway for them to start talking about random stuff. And even if it's sounds nonsensical to you, you just dig in, and then sooner or later you give them some compliments, you share with them about their life and who they are, and maybe you throw in a story, and then you get the good stuff, the stuff you want to hear about, and they can know and trust you, because this generation is looking for trust. They're looking for long form content. They're looking, there's the highest religious group right now is the 14 to 29-year-olds. They are aching for leadership. They're aching for people to move forward with them and to connect with them. So, uh, take the time if you have an opportunity. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'm also open to chatting. And if you haven't liked or subscribed, please do. Like 450 videos I used to do all my health stuff where I lost 120 pounds. I've been able to keep it off for 15 years, doing fitness stuff as well. So the main part of my life right now is to talk about faith, talk about fitness of all kinds, and talk about fatherhood. So that's why I'm doing videos where I'm doing the dishes and looking into life. And I appreciate anyone and everyone who is coming on, and to y'all who've been watching me for some time. I appreciate you. And again, if you have any comments or questions, that would be cool, or like and subscribe. Probably could ramble on for a bit longer, but I also want to kind of keep these tight and short, so I have the bandwidth to do this, I hope, almost every day, except Sundays. I'm going to rest. I have long days at church and stuff like that. Hey, Thomas, what's going on, brother? Woo! So thank you. But yeah, I appreciate it. And, to those of you who've struggled with your parents, there's hope. I'm living proof of that. You can get over those things, and with good counsel, with godly people around you, life can change. So, think of those milestones, but think of them from your own perspective if you're a parent, and just try to do one positive thing for the day. Struggling with roommate. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's awful. Thank you for sharing, Thomas. It's always difficult to be living with people and connecting with them because, we all are raised different, grown up different, even within families, siblings. Whew, siblings can be very, very different. So, just try your best with them, be patient. And when patience goes out the window, that's when you really got to set up those boundaries and make sure that you are doing things for the right reasons or the right way. Because living with roommates is awfully difficult. I tenured at my mentor's house, lived in his home for 4 years, and storing stuff in my room there, moving the junk to make room for clothes. Okay. Yeah, that's always very, very difficult when people are just always, let me see here, all messages are visible. Oh, I see, okay. That's cool. I'm learning stuff as I go. When you do something in someone else's home, it's really, really difficult to it's hard to live with roommates, straight up. So my heart goes out to you. Just try to be as patient as possible, and if not, set up boundaries. And while you're in if you're in a decent living condition, or while you're in a semi-decent living condition, try your best to think of any which way you can to mitigate, maybe it's building up, maybe it's buying an extra cabinet. I don't know, your savings, your financial situation, but try not to touch the homeowner's home. That is like, it's a very big pet peeve. Sometimes people can almost lord it over you that, you're living in their house. My mentor was not like this at all. I'm painting a bad picture. My mentor was not like this at all. The people who were staying there that I was kind of mentoring and helping and connecting with while he was gone, they were something else. My mentor was totally cool. But I can imagine if you have a person who owns the building, the landlord or the whoever it is, and they're on you because, this is how they've lived their life. They've always done things. But I'll be praying for you. That's awful. Actually, I'll pray for you right now, Thomas, if that's okay. Lord, I just pray for the situation with Thomas online here. I just pray that you would bless him and keep him, help his heart in his situation, his anxieties. And I just pray that you would continue to show him your love in a powerful, powerful way, that he would know how to set up the right boundaries and know when just to not do things to also cause altercations, and that there would be growth in his life in a very difficult time. Thank you for this. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, y'all. I don't know if anyone else put up any comments or questions. How do I pin that? I don't know. Anyway, this new format for me, doing the 16:9 on my phone, just works to be streaming here. I guess I can ended off. It's being a good stream. I thought I was going to do like 15 minutes, 20 minutes after that, 40 minutes in. So if you'd like to watch any of the other dad doing dishes, just take a look right here, and you can subscribe right here. I am Stephen Tocher. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, morning, or night. God bless. Bye, Thomas.